WWE fans, the tension between Oba Femi and Bron Breakker has reached a completely different level, and what happened on Raw may have changed the direction of this rivalry for good. What looked at first like another confrontation between two confident young stars quickly became a battle of pride, status, and one very important question: who is truly ready to become the next major face of WWE? Breakker entered the segment carrying himself like a man who believed he already knew the answer. Femi, however, walked into the situation with a completely different attitude. He did not appear interested in proving himself through anger or intimidation. Instead, he relied on confidence and carefully chosen words. That contrast made the confrontation even more memorable. Breakker wanted recognition, while Femi acted as though recognition was already his. The atmosphere inside the arena changed the moment these two were finally placed in the same space, because fans have been watching their tension build for weeks. Every stare, every exchange, and every moment of hesitation has suggested that neither man is willing to step aside. What happened on Raw finally brought that tension to the surface, and it became clear that this rivalry is no longer simply about competition. It is about identity, ambition, and the future of WWE. Femi's rise changes the conversation. The biggest reason this rivalry has become so interesting is the rapid rise of Oba Femi. He has presented himself as someone who believes he belongs at the very top, and every major opportunity has only strengthened that confidence. His accomplishments have given him something that cannot easily be manufactured: momentum. When a superstar begins collecting important victories and attracting attention from fans and other major names, the conversation around that wrestler naturally changes. Suddenly, people stop asking whether he belongs and start asking how far he can go. That is exactly where Femi appears to be right now. His confidence does not come across as someone desperately searching for approval. Instead, he carries himself like someone who believes his performances have already answered the questions. That attitude is particularly important when standing across from a competitor like Breakker, who has built his own reputation through intensity, athleticism, and an unmistakable desire to become a top star. Both men see themselves as future leaders of WWE, and that creates an unavoidable collision. There can only be so many people occupying the spotlight at the same time. When two ambitious stars believe they deserve the same position, even a simple conversation can become a major confrontation. Breakker wants his recognition. For Bron Breakker, the situation is deeply personal because he has already spent considerable time proving that he belongs in important matches and championship conversations. He has established himself as one of WWE's most explosive young competitors, and his physical style has made him difficult to ignore. But being recognized as a talented performer is different from being recognized as the future of the company. That distinction appears to be what is driving Breakker's frustration. He does not simply want another victory. He wants the wrestling world to understand that he belongs at the front of the line. When another young star suddenly receives enormous attention, it can naturally create pressure for someone who believes that spotlight should belong to him. Breakker's challenge on Raw reflected that frustration. He wanted Femi to stand across from him and address the issue directly. Who is the future? It was a simple question, but it carried enormous meaning. Breakker was essentially asking Femi to acknowledge him as an equal. Instead, Femi responded with the confidence of someone who did not believe the question required much debate. That response made the situation even more uncomfortable, because Breakker was looking for validation while Femi appeared completely uninterested in giving it to him. The match makes it official. The biggest development came when Heyman revealed that the confrontation was not going to end with words. A match had been set for September 6 at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, turning the heated exchange into an official opportunity for both men to settle their differences inside the ring. That announcement completely changed the meaning of everything that had happened before it. Breakker wanted the confrontation on his terms, but instead he received a scheduled match with a date and location already determined. Femi, meanwhile, had the opportunity to walk away from the segment knowing that his words had created an even bigger challenge. Now neither man can simply claim superiority, they have to prove it. The match becomes the next chapter in a rivalry that has been built around questions of potential and status. For Breakker, It is a chance to show that he deserves to be considered one of the company's defining young stars. For Femi, it is an opportunity to prove that his confidence is backed by the ability to deliver when the pressure is highest. That makes the upcoming match far more important than a standard singles contest. The handshake sends a message. Perhaps the most interesting visual from the entire segment came after the match announcement. Heyman shook Breakker's hand before extending that same gesture toward Femi. On the surface, it may have looked like a simple moment of professionalism, but within the context of the rivalry, it carried much more weight. Breakker had just spent the segment demanding recognition, while Femi had essentially told him that the answer to the question was already clear. Then Heyman treated both men as major pieces of the same story. That visual leaves plenty of room for speculation about where everyone's loyalties truly stand. It also places Breakker in an uncomfortable position because he cannot control how other people view Femi. If anything, the handshake made it clear that Femi is being taken seriously by people around him. Breakker now has to deal with the possibility that his biggest competition is receiving the kind of attention he believes should belong to him. That frustration could become one of the defining elements of this rivalry moving forward. September 6th could define the rivalry. Now everything comes down to September 6th in Atlanta. The verbal confrontation has already established the personalities, the tension, and the stakes. The match will determine whether those words can be backed up. Breakker has the opportunity to answer Femi's dismissal with a performance that leaves no doubt about his abilities. Femi, meanwhile, has the chance to reinforce his claim that he is already one of the most important rising stars in WWE. What makes this matchup especially exciting is that neither man appears willing to accept second place. They are both young, ambitious, and determined to establish themselves before someone else takes the opportunity away. That creates the perfect foundation for a rivalry that could continue far beyond one match. Raw may have started with a simple question about the future, but it ended with two competitors preparing to fight for the answer. The most important part is that neither man needs to convince the other anymore. They have already made their positions clear. Now they have to let their performances speak. And when these two finally meet, the WWE Universe will find out whether confidence, momentum, and ambition are enough to separate one future star from another.